Higuma the Bear. This is the most irrelevant character with the biggest impact on the overall narrative of One Piece. Not to say he is the most impactful, but compared to his absolutely negligible relevance after his death in Chapter 1, his impact on the story still shows today, even if it's based on events he's caused rather than his actual character. Higuma existed to be a foil to Shanks and a lesson for Luffy. He's a self-centered, egotistical, and ruthless mountain bandit, void of any care for anyone but himself, and completely ignorant to the vast world outside of Dawn Island. Higuma's history. We don't know much about Higuma's history, or really anything outside of his first and last appearance in Chapter 1. We can assume he lived a life similar to Dadan, the mountain bandit who raised Ace, Sabo, and Luffy, as well as the only other mountain bandit that we know from the story. This means stealing, hunting, violence, and criminal activities were a very normal part of everyday life, so he probably wasn't a stranger to hostile situations like he caused in Chapter 1. Throughout his life, Higuma was able to earn himself a bounty of 8 million berry, which he was extremely proud of and even boasted to having killed 56 people. His pride in this relatively low bounty isn't completely unfounded, as the average bounty in the East Blue is a measly 3 million, almost 3 times lower than Higuma's. We do have to keep in mind that the East Blue was stated to be the most tame of the 4 blues, so there isn't a high bar when it comes to pirates and mountain bandits. It's also interesting to mention that his bounty wasn't issued by the Marine, instead being issued by the Coast Guard, which we've heard nothing about since then, but I like to think it's another group under the world government, similar to the Marines, just on a much smaller scale and each island having their own small group of them. It could possibly also only exist in the 4 blues, being west, east, south, and north, because even in the Grand Line, when there's problems secluded to a singular island, it's still the Marines who deal with it and not something like a Coast Guard or some internal government of the island itself. Which would make sense because the Grand Line is on a much larger scale in terms of danger and power, so you would need a lot of military might to deal with the problems that occur there. The military might that the Coast Guard most likely doesn't have. Luffy's lesson. All of Higuma's impact comes from the lessons Shanks was able to teach Luffy, about knowing when something is worth fighting for, as well as a more overlooked lesson in which Shanks was able to show Luffy and the readers what it really means to claim a certain lifestyle, specifically the lifestyle of an outlaw, being a pirate or a mountain bandit. Because this is a video about Higuma, I don't want to go too deep into the themes of this moment, but since I do think the themes that these 2 lessons introduced into the story are often overlooked, especially the second one I mentioned, I do want to talk about it briefly. When Shanks tells one of Higuma's goons that he's putting his life in danger for deciding to point a gun at somebody, there's a lot more that can be taken from this scene, especially when it comes to Luffy, as well as pirates and their decision to fly the skull and crossbones. What Shanks is saying is you can't just do something and then think that's all there is to it. By picking up and pointing a gun, you better be prepared to use it, and be prepared for someone to use the same thing against you. It's like agreeing to a terms of service. One way Oda plays with this theme a lot is with pirates and what comes with that territory. A lot of people overlook it, but this was actually the first time it was introduced into the story. After the man who pointed the gun at Shanks was shot and killed by Lucky Roo, the mountain bandits claimed that it wasn't fair, to which the red-haired pirates reply,
そいつは脅しの道具じゃねえって言ったんだ。この奴らだ。
卑怯？
甘えこと言ってんじゃねえ。聖者でも相手にしてるつもりか？
お前らの前にいるのは海賊だぜ。
You're not dealing with saints here, we're pirates, and we don't play by the rules. As outlaws themselves, and being the ones to first draw the weapons, Shanks shows us that Higuma and the mountain bandits should have been prepared for death, violence, trickery, or anything else this territory would come with. We see this so much throughout the story, especially with Luffy. It has been something he's learned and adopted as his own way of thinking. Him and Crocodile even have a conversation about it, stating that there's no such thing as fair or unfair in a fight with pirates, and the only thing that matters is who lives or dies. This has never made Luffy, or any other pirate for that matter, seem morally bankrupt or evil. It just shows that they know the life they sign up for isn't about being fair, honorable, or doing the right thing. So if it means living to chase your dreams, or protecting what you care about, then nothing is off the table. This is a theme that Oda brings up over and over again throughout the story, even so recently as in King's fight with Zoro and Wano. Just like Luffy, Zoro knows what he signed up for becoming a pirate. He can't expect people to have the same honorable code that he does. And if it comes down to it, if it means protecting Luffy's dream and playing his role as the right hand to the Pirate King, he'd even throw away his own honor. We see this in King as well, who isn't afraid to use trickery or use tactics that want to be considered honorable if it means progressing Kaido's plan and making him the king of a pirate and possibly fulfilling the prophecy of Joy Boy. This shows us even if you do live with the code of honor like Zoro does, if you become a pirate, you have to realize what comes with the territory. It's not about fairness or doing what's right like I said before. It's about freedom and doing what you want to do, especially when it comes to achieving one's dreams or even helping someone else achieve their dreams in Zoro's case in this fight with King. You know, I go on a tangent like this kind of to prove a point, because Higuma may seem like one of the most forgettable villains throughout the story, but Oda used him to establish many of the most important themes in the story, and that's something that's often overlooked when looking back at Romance Dawn, as well as many of the other earlier arcs in One Piece, specifically those in East Blue. You know, many people believe that the East Blue is pretty weak during the beginning of the saga, making it harder for new people to get into One Piece. But Oda knew what he was doing. He knew he had to establish these themes early on in the story, so when they do inevitably come back up in the story, it's not some foreign concept that we've never heard of. Oda took his time with these seemingly weak villains, and weak as in a narrative sense, early on in the story, to introduce themes that would become the groundwork for all of One Piece and what it really means to be a pirate for Luffy. But yeah guys, with that being said, let me know your thoughts on Higuma and the role he's played in the story, and let me know if you like this style of video. This is the start of my series where I'll be analyzing One Piece antagonists, and I'll most likely be going in chronological order, so next up would most likely be Buggy, unless I choose to do Alvida, but I'm thinking I'm going to pair up or group up a bunch of villains that I don't think have a large enough impact on the story to hold their own video. So for the East Blue, I'm thinking Alvida, Don Krieg, and etc, Kuro. Also, most subordinates of the main villain, I probably won't be doing unless I think they had a big enough impact as well. People like Katakuri, for example. But yeah guys, if you like this video, be sure to leave a thumbs up. And if you want to see more content like this, don't forget to subscribe. And like I said before, leave a comment with your thoughts on Higuma and the early Romance Dawn arc in the comments below. But until next time, later.